New on the Creation Club for Fallout 4, the Enclave arrive in the Commonwealth. At last, we have a fleshed-out presence for the Enclave in the ruins of Massachusetts. We finally understand why they're here and what they're doing after their destruction at the hands of the Lone Wanderer during the Broken Steel DLC for Fallout 3. Now, usually when the Creation Club is updated, you have to click on the Creation Club button from the main menu, and then navigate the Creation Club to find the creation you want, and then purchase it with credits. Only once purchased and downloaded and installed will you be able to access it from within the game. But in Bethesda's latest update for Fallout 4, these new creations, as well as a few old ones, are added to your game for free. You don't have to download them, you don't have to install them, they're included in the update, which essentially makes them now a baked-in part of the game. So once the update is installed, all you have to do to access these creations is log into the game. Once you do, all of the new quests associated with these new creations start flying by on your screen. Today we're going to be tackling Echoes of the Past. Investigate the last known location of the missing caravan. This quest is new, but there are some other Enclave creations included in this update that are not new. These were published years ago, and I covered them in dedicated videos at that time. They include the quests Speak of the Devil, Crucible, Best of 3, and Pyromaniac. Those quests added Enclave soldiers and gear to the Commonwealth, but we never really got an explanation as to why they were here. This new quest, Echoes of the Past, wraps everything together. Since I already covered the other Enclave creations years ago, I won't be doing so again here. Instead, I've linked to all of those videos below. But the quest makes reference to them from time to time, and we'll be getting some loot in this creation that we already got in the other Enclave creations. Echoes of the Past places a marker on our map on the road due west of the Museum of Witchcraft. Heading that way, we see that the location is smack dab in the wreckage of Skylane's Flight 1981. The problem is, as we get close to the location,
what's all this then?
We get ambushed by Enclave soldiers who immediately open fire. The way this quest works is they're not here until we get close. Then after we pass the location, they spawn and attack us. Which is really annoying for someone who does a stealth build, for example, because you can't exactly sneak up on them if they haven't even spawned in yet. In general, I dislike quests that just spawn in enemies behind you, because it essentially makes your character's perception useless. What if you're a high perception character and you should be able to see enemies from a great distance? Well, that doesn't matter now if they don't even exist until you walk by, and they just spawn in and start attacking. Due to this, I died multiple times trying to get to this point at level 17. Ultimately, once I learned where they were gonna spawn, I had to use a stealth boy and approach slowly while stealthed. They spawn in and start attacking Codsworth. That gave me all the time I needed to finish them off. With the Enclave soldiers dead, we can loot the bodies, and on one of the bodies we find orders, eliminate Nate. Opening the holotape in our Pip-Boy, retrieval operations, Enclave, God bless America. We can view orders from First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, to Sergeant Michaels, Squad Gamma. Message start. Sergeant, intelligence reports that a Wastelander has come into possession of a Tesla cannon. It is imperative you eliminate them and return the weapon to Field Camp. Coordinates enclosed for cataloging. Remember, no loose ends. This is in reference to the Best of 3 quest that we get from the Tesla Cannon Creation Club creation. Again, I covered that creation years ago, but essentially, we find an Enclave member who goes berserk in possession of a Tesla cannon. And when we kill him, we loot the cannon. Apparently, that caught the Enclave's attention, and they sent this squad to ambush us. On the body of one of the troopers is a full suit of Hellfire Mark III Enclave power armor. This beautiful set of armor is also not new. We get this from the Pyromaniac creation. But at that time, we only got one suit. And as you're about to see, Echoes of the Past will give us multiple suits. We also find one of these guys carrying a heavy incinerator. This item was also previously added to Fallout 4 in the Crucible Creation Club creation. I covered all of the modifications available for the heavy incinerator when I did my video on Crucible. We'll go ahead and edit this to give it the napalm canisters, the long barrel, we'll keep the large propellant tank, and we'll keep the incinerator shield, which is going to protect us from using this during close encounters. Now, the soldiers' orders mentioned a field camp, and the document shows us that it's close to where we killed this patrol. Heading that way, we see a small Enclave camp under a ruined overpass. Climbing atop the overpass, we can get a height advantage here and rain down napalm.
Hey! Got trouble!
The troops are dead, but there's a turret here. And this turret looks just like the uniquely styled turrets that the Enclave used during Fallout 3. This is new to the Echoes of the Past creation, and it's great to see these Enclave turrets alive and well in Fallout 4. But of course now we've got to destroy it. Looting the bodies, we see that each of these soldiers carries Enclave tags, a new scrap item similar to the Brotherhood of Steel tags. And the soldiers who aren't in power armor are using combat armor emblazoned with the Enclave logo. It has an Enclave paint scheme attached. We'll go ahead and save these to see if we can put together a full set. We find a dead settler nearby with a dead Brahmin. Presumably the Enclave killed them. And we can loot yet another suit of Hellfire power armor off of the trooper. The architecture of this camp is new to Fallout 4, but it's not new to Fallout. In Fallout 3, the Enclave, after the Broken Steel DLC was installed, would set up camps like these all over the Capital Wasteland. It's made from modular walls that look like they snap together to form barriers and little rooms. Here we find a pedestal with a bed on top of it, an Enclave flag on the wall, and a unique Enclave crate. New with this creation, but again, not new to Fallout. These crates were in Fallout 3 as well. Next, we can read the Enclave Field Operations Terminal. We find 3 entries as well as turret control in the first retrieval logs. We'll start with Hellfire Power Armor. Items, Hellfire Power Armor. Overview. Multiple sets of Hellfire Power Armor have been cited in the AO. Recovery is of paramount importance. Additional notes. A local trader, deceased, has corroborated reports that a hooligan by the name of Pyro is in possession of Hellfire power armor. It's currently presumed that Pyro ambushed a deserter and took the armor for themselves. Retrieval operation to commence ASAP. This is referencing the Hellfire power armor creation with the Pyromaniac quest where we had to kill Pyro to get our first suit of Hellfire power armor. And the next one, Heavy Incinerator. Items, Heavy Incinerator overview. Heavy incinerators are confirmed to be within the AO. Recovery is of paramount importance. Additional notes. A local trader deceased has corroborated reports that a fanatic group of Forged are in possession of a heavy incinerator. Records indicate a misguided soldier, deceased, traded this weapon for local rations. Soldier has been proportionally disciplined. Retrieval operation to commence ASAP. This is in reference to the Heavy Incinerator creation and the Crucible quest, published years ago, where we first got the Heavy Incinerator. And this terminal is great because I complained at the time that both of those quests felt really weak. We had absolutely no backstory behind having to go hunt down Pyro and kill him to get the Hellfire power armor. We had no story as to why a member of the Forged would have the Heavy Incinerator. But now we do. It's a small bit of story, but at least now we have an explanation as to why Enclave tech was in the Commonwealth. This makes those two creations much more reasonable. And the next, Tesla Cannon. Items, Tesla Cannon overview. Tesla cannons have confirmed to be within the AO. Recovery is a priority. Additional notes, NA. This refers to the best of 3 Creation Club creation, where we got the Tesla cannon off the corpse of the deranged Enclave soldier in the glowing seas. Next, XO2 power armor. Items XO2 power armor overview. Sightings of XO2 power armor sets reported within the AO. Recovery is paramount. Additional notes, a deserter who fled to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was in possession of a set. Intelligence is working to identify possible locations. This refers to the Speak of the Devil Creation Club creation that again I covered years ago, where we got a full suit of XO2 power armor, or Black Devil power armor, in the base of an Enclave deserter. So from these terminal entries, we learn that the Enclave is here in force primarily to retrieve Enclave weaponry and technology that had been taken here by deserters, stolen by raiders, or inadvertently sold. In the next one, fusion cores. Items fusion cores overview. Numerous fusion cores noted in the AO. Recovery is of high importance. Additional notes, intelligence has identified the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as containing a significant number of fusion cores. Any fusion core should be retrieved when sighted. As per orders, any civilians found to be in possession of fusion cores are to be eliminated prior to the confiscation of said fusion cores. This is a really interesting one because, of course, there are no fusion cores in Fallout 3 or in Fallout New Vegas. And in the Fallout TV show, fusion cores are seen as a rarity. But for some reason, in Fallout 4, they're absolutely everywhere in the Commonwealth. Looks like the Enclave has recognized this, giving them a reason to come to the Commonwealth to pilfer them. In the next one, plasma weaponry. Items plasma weaponry. Overview, high concentration of plasma weaponry within the AO. Recovery is of moderate importance. Additional notes, a local PMC named Gunners are in possession of an especially large quantity of plasma weapons. When tactical advantages present themselves, gunner squads are to be destroyed and their weaponry confiscated. Survivors are to be hunted down and executed as per orders. Addendum, a Brotherhood of Steel presence has been noted in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Though they will likely possess plasma weaponry, confrontation is to be avoided. Understandable, Enclave, due to your unfortunate history with the Brotherhood of Steel. And finally, plasma cartridges. Items plasma cartridges overview, high concentration of plasma weaponry within the AO. Recovery is of moderate importance. Additional notes, a local PMC named Gunners are in possession of an especially large quantity of plasma cartridges. And from here, the memo essentially repeats the last one. Backing out, we can then go to orders. Commanding officer eyes only. Mission directive, recovery of valuable equipment from non-authorized personnel. 1. Establish discrete encampment in AO and produce fortnightly reports to superiors regarding occurrences of note in the vicinity. 2. Identify locations of missing equipment via reconnaissance, coercion, torture, or other known effective methods. I see the Enclave hasn't changed much. 2B. On conclusion of interaction with general populace, dispose of them. 3. On identification of equipment location, initiate recovery and dispose of any witnesses. 4. Upon successful recovery of equipment, return to field headquarters via homing beacon. Radio frequency enclosed in terminal. 5. Relief squad scheduled in redacted. So there's a field headquarters nearby, and from this terminal we can get a radio frequency that'll take us there. Backing out of orders, we can download the homing beacon frequency. We can now track down their field headquarters. And we have an optional objective to start the search from the edge of the glowing seas. Alright, well I guess that means their field headquarters is in the glowing seas. Dangerous place to set up a field headquarters. After scanning this encampment one more time to make sure we get absolutely everything, we can make our way to the edge of the glowing seas and turn on our radio. We see a new option, Enclave Homing Beacon. With the homing beacon activated, we can follow it in the same way that we track down the Courser at Green Tech Genetics. But this is the glowing sea, and there's a lot of baddies here. We've got to fight through all of them before we reach our destination. last we arrive, the Enclave have set up in the ruins of the Atlantic offices. That is amazing, because the Atlantic offices were a really interesting ruin in the glowing sea, but there was really nothing there. No quest took us there, and there was very little lore inside. But even so, I covered it, and you can see how it existed before this creation in my video that you can watch here. Now we've got a quest that populates this place and makes it worth visiting. The Enclave soldiers are on top of the roof, and they're armed with Tesla cannons. I think our best bet is to lose their scent and find a sneaky way to enter the building. Creeping around the back of the building, we eventually find a side covered in portholes. There are soldiers inside. Maybe we can lob one of these piggy banks in there? And that's a bullseye! No VATS used. Gotta say I'm pretty proud of that one. But we still haven't found a way up. We see that the hole in the wall that we could use before this creation was installed is blocked up with Enclave barricades. At last we find a ledge on the middle level that we can use to creep through a hole in the wall. But as soon as we enter, the building goes into full lockdown, and Codsworth is locked out. Oh, great. We've got to lift the lockdown. But to do that, we got to clear the place. Opening the door to the left. Whoa!
Over here!
Well, this piggy bank launcher is very effective. It killed an Enclave soldier wearing a full suit of XO2 Mark III power armor in one hit. We can snag the armor and then loot the combat armor on the other Enclave soldier. In this room, we find a weapons workbench and an ammo box and an Enclave gun case lying on the top of a shelf. But this is a dead end, so turning around, we can cross the hull to the west. We see a security door behind us that we can't interact with. There is a terminal on a desk here, and from the terminal we can access the security door. But upon opening the door, we don't really find much of interest here. A little bit of loot in a desk and in a toolbox. So, turning around, we see a hole in the floor below. Codsworth is outside. He really wants to join us. Looks like we gotta drop down. On the bottom, we find 2 gun cases against the southern wall filled with ammunition, a first aid kit on the wall, and then we can open a door. Inside, we see Enclave barricades and soldiers in power armor. But the piggy bank launcher makes quick work of them. But now we can switch to the Chinese grenade rifle. And with the help of a little jet, we clear the room. Looks like there are more on a level far below us. We'll loot this level first. We can loot even more Enclave power armor off of this corpse, and more Enclave combat armor off of this one. And we can't forget to loot our caps. By now, I was heavily encumbered, and Codsworth wasn't here to help me with my load. I definitely wanted to walk away with all of these suits of power armor, so looks like I'm moving slowly for the foreseeable future. Near to a power armor workbench, we find a staircase leading down to a floor below.
That's what you want!
Oh, he's behind us! That guy's dead, but there's one below us. Before looting the body, we can open this door, where we see a hole in the floor trapped with laser tripwires. Looks like that's where we need to go. As we disable the tripwires, but one grenade from the grenade launcher kills the Colonel. Before hopping down, we can finish looting this floor. We can loot the body of the guy who surprised us from behind when we first got down here, whereupon we find another full suit of XO2 power armor. With this level looted, we can drop down, loot the combat armor off the Enclave soldier, and then loot an Enclave terminal password from the body of the Enclave Colonel, as well as the Colonel uniform, a brand new item unique to this creation. I'll cover it in detail a bit later. We see some ruined iBots here, which of course makes perfect sense. The Enclave used iBots in both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas to communicate with each other. There are a number of ammunition boxes in this room that we can loot, but to continue we need to move out. Here, however, there's a bit of a bug. The quest marker tick never moves from the body of the Colonel. I already looted the coat off of his body, but that marker is still there. At any rate, moving into the next room, we find the Enclave CO's terminal that we can now access with the password. Inside, we find 3 entries and the ability to end the lockdown. In the first, communications, CO eyes only. Note, are you cleared to access communications? If not, please report to your superior for immediate disciplinary action. Have a nice day. In the first one, in further orders, from redacted to Major Elias, Field Headquarters, message start. Major, this has been duly noted. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been identified as a viable location for a permanent base of operations. Should your current mission proceed without issue, we will allocate more resources to your mission. In the meantime, I recommend you identify locations that would be ideal for a larger headquarters. It matters not if civilians currently reside within potential premises. They can be removed. And the next one, out, current status. From Major Elias, Field Headquarters to redacted, message start, redacted. The field headquarters and field encampment have been operational with minimal issues. Equipment recovery has been proceeding at an acceptable pace. I believe this pace could be accelerated if further personnel could be allocated to our current mission. In the next, in Hellfire Power Armor findings. From First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, to Major Elias, Field Headquarters. Message start. Major, the trader has informed us that a member of the Forged uses armor matching the description of Hellfire Power Armor. The trader last saw this individual close to Listening Post Bravo. We will arrange a recon patrol shortly to confirm this. Yet another reference to the previous creation where we first got the Hellfire Power Armor. In the next, in Heavy Incinerator findings, from First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, to Major Elias, Field Headquarters, message start. Major, the trader has informed us that a group called The Forged are in possession of a heavy incinerator. They reside in Saugus Ironworks. We will arrange a recon patrol to confirm this shortly. This, of course, yet another reference to the Crucible creation. In the next one, in Local Trader Captured, from First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, to Major Elias, Field Headquarters, message start. Major, we have captured a trader who passed in close proximity of the camp. I believe they may provide valuable information after some coercion. Private First Class Matthias and I will begin shortly. That explains why we saw a dead trader and his Brahmin lying inside the camp. In the next one, out, Tesla Cannon location update. From Major Elias, Field Headquarters, to First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, message start. Lieutenant, we have reason to believe a Tesla cannon may in fact be in close proximity to the Field Headquarters. Until confirmed, hold off on any operations related to it. This, of course, another reference to Best of 3, the creation for the Tesla cannon, which we found in the glowing sea not far from here. And in the final one, in encampment established. From First Lieutenant Franklin, Field Camp, to Major Elias, Field Headquarters, message start. Major, I'm delighted to report that we've finalized our encampment. The squad has been briefed, and we will commence our operations immediately. Well, we just learned a whole lot. First, it repeats much of the same information that we learned on the last terminal at the field camp, including additional references to all those previous Enclave creations. But we learned that these guys were sent here by their commanders whose names are redacted and location are redacted. This brings up lore questions about the Enclave in the Fallout universe. They clearly still exist after being destroyed during the events of Broken Steel, and it seems to be more than just fragmented soldiers operating on their own. There seems to be a command structure still in place. Who commands the Enclave now? And where is the Enclave currently located? It's not in Boston. They were sent here from someplace else. Where? In the next one, orders, COIs only. Mission objective, establishment of a concealed field headquarters for commencement of operations within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. 1. Establish field headquarters within secluded Fallout Zone to the southeast of the sector. 2. Initiate recovery of high-value equipment identified as residing within the sector. 3. Eliminate non-Enclave personnel who comprise the location of the field headquarters. 4. Stand by for further orders from redacted. 5. Relief squad scheduled in redacted. So they purposefully chose the Atlantic offices in the glowing sea due to how secluded it was. I wonder how the soldiers who weren't in power armor were surviving all of the radiation, because it's not like they were in hazmat suits. They were in combat armor and military fatigues. How were they not dying to the radiation? In the next one, encampment distribution. 4 options in the first overview. Additional encampments have been authorized at the enclosed locations. These sites will serve as staging locations for future excursions. Ensure that they are adequately fortified and well-equipped. In the next one, Southern Enclave encampment. Southern Enclave encampment operational. Location selected, south of Galaxy News Network building. Equipment issued, 1 laser turret, standard issue weaponry, and standard issue ammunition. This puts a miscellaneous quest on our log to investigate the Southern Enclave encampment. Next, Eastern Enclave encampment. Eastern Enclave encampment operational, location selected east of Parsons State Insane Asylum. Equipment issued, 1 laser turret, standard issue weaponry, and standard issue ammunition. Again, we get a miscellaneous quest. And finally, Western Enclave encampment. Western Enclave encampment operational, location selected southwest of Dark Hollow Pond. Equipment issued, 2 laser turrets, standard issue weaponry, standard issue ammunition. And we get a 3rd miscellaneous quest. Finally, we can back out and end the lockdown. Our quest log updates to leave the building. But just then... oh crap, it's a vertibird, and I'm encumbered with all of this power armor. Oh no, they're coming for me. We find an elevator at the end of this room. Pulling out our grenade launcher, we can take the elevator all the way to the roof. We see the dead Enclave soldiers that we killed with our piggy bank launcher when we first arrived, and we can loot their power armor. But the vertibird has dropped more. We've destroyed the ones on the roof, and we got rid of the vertibird, but it looks like there are more on the ground below. Before heading down, we can loot the bodies. On this guy, we find a Tesla cannon, the same reward we got from the best of 3 Enclave Creation Club creation. Nice. And a full suit of Exo 2 power armor. We find a 3rd full set of Exo 2 power armor on the body of the 3rd soldier on the roof. And we can loot the caps from the piggy bank launcher that I shot right through this window. Yeah. Okay, I'm a little proud. Maybe just a little. Creeping to the very top, we can loot the fusion core from the fusion generator, loot ammunition from a number of gun cases up here, and then take out the Enclave on the ground below.
Not hiding this time.
With that, we complete Echoes of the Past, and we can jump down to loot the bodies below. We find a heavy incinerator, another full set of Hellfire power armor, a heavy napalmer, another full set of Hellfire power armor. And whose leg is that? He wasn't wearing power armor. Oh, there's his other leg. Where's the rest of his body? We find another full suit of Exo 2 power armor. And after dumping some armor into Codsworth's inventory, we can track down the vertibird. Ah, there's the guy who's missing his legs. They're both kind of just hovering in the air right now, but it was the pilot. And looks like we looted this guy earlier, perhaps off of a limb that we saw lying around. And there's the wreckage of the vertibird. With the quest done, we can head back to our settlement and dump off all of the power armor and weapons we've accumulated. But we're not done. Remember, we picked up those miscellaneous quests. We need to see what the Enclave is up to elsewhere in the Commonwealth. We'll start by trying to track down this Western Enclave encampment. Upon arrival, we see a setup very similar to the last one we saw outside of the glowing sea. They've encircled their camp with a bunch of Enclave barricades on top of a rocky outcropping. But the Tesla cannon makes short work of them. Moving forward, we can loot another full suit of XO2 power armor, more Enclave combat armor, and within the encampment we find more Enclave ammunition crates. There's another ruined Enclave Eyebot. Interestingly, we see a couple of wild mongrels dead in here. I'm not sure if they just wandered in or if this means the Enclave was experimenting on them. At any rate, on a desk next to a terminal, we find a new magazine, Enclave Entrenchment Manual.
Yes.
You've collected an issue of the Enclave Entrenchment Manual, Fending Off Friendly Fire. Permanently unlock the Enclave paint job for your power armor. You are now able to build the Enclave flag and Enclave crate at settlement workshops. Awesome! We can finish looting the crates and then inspect the field operations terminal. This terminal has a lot of duplicated copy that we've already read from other Enclave terminals, but there are a few unique things here. In number 1, we learned that they were establishing an encampment within the cliffs to the west of the sector. And number 2, we learned that this encampment was used to prepare and release Eyebots to dispense Enclave materials and propaganda. So the Eyebots we saw at the Atlantic offices in the glowing sea weren't just to deliver messages between outposts, they were also to dispense Enclave propaganda like how Eden used Eyebots in the Capital Wasteland. So it looks like this one had nothing to do with mongrels. It was all about Eyebots. To remove this mission from our miscellaneous section, we have to deactivate the Enclave communications tower in the middle of the encampment. With that, it powers down, and we complete the miscellaneous quest. Well, that's it for the Western Enclave encampment. Heading back to our settlement, we can check out the new stuff we unlocked. The new Enclave paint scheme works for the previous 4 tiers of power armor that existed in the vanilla game: the T45, the T51, the T60, and the XO1. We unlock a new black Enclave paint scheme for these suits of armors. And of note, the chest piece has 2 variations, a variation with the Enclave symbol and a variation with the Enclave flag, the American flag with the Enclave symbol in place of the stars. We also unlock 2 new wall flags, a black Enclave flag with the Enclave symbol, and the red, white, and blue Enclave flag. And we get a new container, the Enclave crate, which we've been enjoying in all of the Enclave locations we've explored so far, and it looks ripped right from the files of Fallout 3. Wonderful. But we're not done. We've got 2 more encampments to find. The Eastern Enclave encampment is close to the Museum of Witchcraft. Getting close, we see a setup much like the last one, and we can take out one of those turrets with the Tesla cannon. Oh, those napalmers are nasty. We can loot a napalmer and a full suit of Hellfire power armor off of this guy, and then move in closer to get the last enemy. One of the soldiers has more Enclave emblazoned combat armor. We can loot all of the chests here, and we see that this experiment must have had something to do with vegetation and crops. There's a pile of vegetables all over this desk. We get even more combat armor from the Enclave soldier sitting at the desk, and we can loot another copy of Enclave Entrenchment Manual.
Perfect.
Technical superiority. You are now able to build the Enclave laser turret and Enclave comm tower at settlement workshops. Sweet! Like the last terminal, much of this copy is repeated. However, there are a few new things here. In number 1, we learned that they established this encampment within the north of the sector. And then in number 2, we learned the experiment conducted here. They were analyzing the viability of local flora, hence all of the vegetables on the table. And I love the attention to detail here. The terminals have the same format as the Enclave terminals that we find at similar field camps in Fallout 3. They've really done a good job importing that experience. There are tons of canisters and crates here, and when ready, we can power down the Enclave communications tower. And that completes the miscellaneous quest. Heading back to our settlement, we can drop off the gear and check out what we've unlocked. We see that we now have 2 different versions of the Enclave laser turret. One requires 2 power and provides 8 defense, and the other requires 2 power but provides 12 defense. The 8 defense version requires rank 1 of science, the 12 defense version requires rank 3 of science, but they both look identical. Then we can place down the new comm tower, and I couldn't figure out what this does. It requires electricity. You can't directly attach a wire to it, so instead you need to place it within the vicinity of something that exudes ambient power. But even once it's powered up, it doesn't appear to do anything. We don't find new radio signals on our Pip-Boy, and we can't really interact with it, so I'm not sure what this does. Finally, we need to track down the southern Enclave encampment. It's south of Fallon's department store, way south by Galaxy News. Following the train tracks all the way south, we encounter a lot of really dangerous enemies. But eventually, we find the encampment by a swamp, and we can put our baseball launcher to good use. With that, they're all dead, and we see these guys were experimenting on mirelurks. Each encampment in Fallout 3 had a different experiment, and it looks like they're doing the same thing here. We find a mirelurk in a cage and mirelurk eggs lying about. We can loot more Enclave combat armor from the dead, and we find another copy of the Enclave entrenchment manual.
There we go.
Fortification in the field. You are now able to build Enclave barricades at settlement workshops. Sweet! Can't wait to check that out. Like the last terminals, we read a lot of duplicated copy, but we find a few new things here. They established this encampment within the marshes to the south of the sector, and their goal was to sequester quote-unquote mirelurks in this area and procure DNA samples. Looks like their experimentation has gone beyond using death claws in combat. They were thinking about trying to use mirelurks. Backing out of orders, we find a new option here, cell control. We could open the cell door and then hop in our power armor really quickly.
Taking top shot.
And he's out of there. No way I'm tracking that corpse down. Or we could avoid this and just not open the cell door. We get another full suit of Enclave Exo-2 power armor off of one of the bodies, and another set of Enclave combat armor. We can loot all of the various containers here, and then when ready, we can deactivate the Enclave communications tower. With that, we've completed all of the miscellaneous quests. It's time to head back to camp and see everything we've looted. We'll start with the new Enclave barricades, and there's quite a variety of barricades that we can choose from. Annoyingly, most of them don't snap with each other, so we're going to have to be really careful if we want these to actually make an effective barricade. However, there is one thing that snaps: an Enclave ramp. And there's a brand new guard post, an Enclave guard post that we can assign settlers to. A pretty cool looking defensive structure. If we keep all of the armor and weapons that we got from this creation, we can walk away with 9 full suits of XO2 power armor and 5 full suits of Hellfire power armor. We also walk away with 5 napalmers or incinerators, and 1 Tesla cannon, and they are beautiful. As well as multiple suits of Enclave combat armor. I didn't loot all of them, but I did get just enough for a full set. I won't be going over the stats of any of these as they're identical to the versions that I've already covered in previous Creation Club creations. However, it does come with 1 new piece of armor. The Colonel's uniform is completely new. It's a full body piece of armor that grants us 50 damage resist and 1 to perception. It has many miscellaneous upgrades that are similar to the upgrades available for existing armor pieces, but uniquely, we can change the material. It comes with standard leather, but we can change it to winterized leather. And in so doing, we recreate General Chase's overcoat from the Operation Anchorage DLC to Fallout 3. The original skin looks a lot like Colonel Autumn's uniform, which is why it dropped on a colonel, but during Operation Anchorage, General Chase wore a jacket exactly like this, just with a different winterized skin. And here it is, in all its glory. And yes, it can be modified with ballistic weave, making this a viable endgame piece of armor for people who don't want to use power armor. And there we have it. Echoes of the Past is a great little quest, with numerous callbacks to Fallout 3 and faithful depictions of how the Enclave is represented in Fallout 3. The quest successfully explains why the Enclave is here in the Commonwealth to begin with, and it raises interesting questions about the leadership and location of the Enclave Remnants. We really only get 1 new piece of armor, but we do get a bunch of new settlement build items, but the update includes all of the other Enclave updates for free. And during the course of this quest, we gain multiple copies of the armor and the weapons that we got in the previous Enclave creations along the way. Honestly, I think this creation's a bit overpowered. I think it needs to be level gated, like you can't start the quest until you're level, 25 or 30 or something. Because at level 17, I walked away with over 10 full suits of the best power armor in the entire game, exceeding that of even XO1. I walked away with some of the best weapons in the entire game, including 2 Tesla cannons. I did die a few times at the beginning, but once you get your first suit of power armor, the rest of the quest is pretty much a cakewalk. And with all the gear we get from the quest, I fear the rest of the game might become a bit of a cakewalk. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of this creation in the comments section below. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a plush for sale. My one-of-a-kind plush is in stock and ready to ship, but I am almost sold out. My inventory is limited, and when it's gone, it's gone. So if you don't want to miss your opportunity to own an exclusive Oxhorn plush, snag one today. I've also got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos and access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more Fallout videos.
You'll find what you're looking for.